Sagittarius, you're feeling lost without kids. Gain freedom through astrology. The silence after goodbye. The first morning after they leave feels unreal. The house is too quiet, the air too still, and even the sunlight that once danced across the breakfast table feels different, softer, lonelier. Sagittarius, you always imagine this moment as freedom. A time to travel again, to reclaim yourself. But now that it's here, freedom feels heavy. It comes wrapped in silence, in the ache of not hearing your child's voice, in the haunting echo of a door that no longer opens at night. You wander through rooms that once overflowed with laughter, shoes, and late-night confessions, and realize that time has quietly rewritten your role. You're no longer the compass of their days. No longer needed for the little things that once defined your rhythm. It's a strange grief, not loud or dramatic but vast and wordless. A grief made of love with nowhere to go. For a Sagittarius soul whose fire has always thrived on adventure and motion, this stillness feels foreign. You were born under Jupiter's vast skies, destined to expand, to explore, to believe that life always offers more. Yet now, as you stand in this empty space, you feel caught between chapters, mother and woman, caregiver and seeker. But the stars remind you, endings are illusions. What feels like loss is often the universe's gentle hand, guiding you back to your own horizon. The freedom you ache for isn't gone. It's evolving. It's waiting in the quiet moments, in the rediscovery of dreams you once set aside, in the knowing that your journey is far from over. This is not a goodbye, Sagittarius. It's a sacred homecoming, to your essence, your purpose, your truth. The same Jupiter that once blessed you with love and family now invites you to expand beyond them, to explore a new kind of love, one that begins again with yourself. So tonight, under a calm sky, look up. Let the stars remind you that nothing in the cosmos truly disappears. It only changes form. Your love has simply taken flight, following its own orbit, and your task now is to follow yours. There is still magic to be found, still joy waiting beyond the walls of this quiet house. You have not lost, you are being called to live differently, to love larger, to grow again. Chapter 1. When the nest empties, the heart echoes. There's a peculiar kind of silence that fills the home once children leave. It isn't the peaceful quiet of rest. It's a deeper hush, one that hums with absence. The laughter that once drifted down the hall is replaced by the sound of your own breathing, steady but strange. For the Sagittarius mother, this silence can feel like exile from her own life. You were the compass, the storyteller, the light that kept everyone moving forward. And now, as the house stills, it's your turn to ask, who am I when I'm not guiding someone else? In astrology, Sagittarius embodies the eternal seeker, a sign driven by meaning, not routine. You've always known how to find purpose in movement, to turn chaos into adventure. Yet this new stillness feels like a foreign land. Without the daily rhythms of motherhood, your boundless energy, once poured into others, now circles restlessly inside you. This is the paradox of the empty nest for Sagittarius women. The craving for freedom colliding with the ache of loneliness. You finally have space to breathe. Yet each breath reminds you of what's missing. It's not just personal, it's collective. Across the United States, women in midlife are reporting unprecedented levels of loneliness. A culture that once idealized independence now reveals its cost. Disconnected generations, fading family rituals, and an epidemic of silence. Meanwhile, in Europe, where intergenerational households were once common, recent data shows family support dropping to 68%. The very fabric of connection is thinning across the world, leaving many Sagittarius women wondering if their joy was tied too tightly to the people they raised. But beneath the sorrow, something sacred stirs. This emptiness is not punishment. It's space. Space for rediscovery, for expansion, for rebirth. Jupiter, your ruling planet, has always taught that growth follows loss, and that endings are simply portals in disguise. When your home grows quiet, it's the universe's gentle way of inviting you to listen again. Not to others but to your own soul. Perhaps you've noticed forgotten pieces of yourself returning. The old journals you once filled with dreams. The guitar gathering dust in the corner. The longing to travel without purpose, to study something new, to feel your mind light up again. These are not distractions from motherhood. They are continuations of it. Because Sagittarius never truly stops nurturing. You simply redirect that warmth toward your own evolution. There's beauty in learning to parent yourself with the same love you once gave your children. To ask yourself, what do I need today? What lights me up? What makes me feel alive? These are Jupiterian questions, invitations to grow wider, wiser, and freer. Try a small ritual tonight. Light a candle, preferably gold or violet, Jupiter's colors. Sit in your quiet room and close your eyes. Imagine every memory, every bedtime story, every hug, every tear, turning into stars that now fill the space around you. Feel their light, not as loss, but as love that's simply transformed. Whisper softly. Even in silence, love expands. One Sagittarius woman once described this stage as a second sunrise. She told me that after her daughter left for college, she cried for 3 weeks straight. Then one morning she woke up, opened her journal and wrote, "I'm still here." That single line changed everything. She began painting, something she hadn't done since her 20s. She started hosting moon dinners with friends, where they shared stories of motherhood, aging, and rebirth. It wasn't just healing, she said. It was freedom, the kind that doesn't ask permission. This is the quiet revolution Jupiter whispers to you now. You are not disappearing. You are expanding. The love you poured into your children hasn't vanished. It has grown roots and wings. Now it asks to return home to nourish you. So when the house feels too still, remember, this silence is fertile ground. It's the sound of a new beginning taking shape beneath the surface. The archer's bow may rest, but your arrow is already being drawn toward the next horizon. The one where your soul leads and the stars follow. Chapter 2: Jupiter's Gift. Freedom Reimagined. It begins quietly, the slow unfurling of a forgotten rhythm. At first it feels strange, even guilty, to enjoy the stillness that once hurt. You make your morning tea and realize you have no rush, no deadline except the rising sun. There is peace in this pause, though your mind resists it. You've spent years orbiting others' needs. Now the universe is asking you to return to your own center. This Sagittarius is Jupiter's blessing in disguise. The invitation to rediscover freedom not as escape, but as expansion. Jupiter, your ruling planet, governs growth, wisdom, and spiritual evolution. He doesn't just promise adventure in the outer world. He asks for exploration within. When life feels empty, it's often because Jupiter is whispering, expand here. Not geographically, but emotionally, intellectually, and soulfully. You were born to explore truths, to seek purpose beyond the horizon. And this chapter, this empty nest that feels like loss, is your portal to an entirely new adventure. The rediscovery of self. Astrologically, midlife often coincides with significant Jupiter transits. Cosmic check-ins where expansion meets reflection. These periods can feel unsettling because they challenge identity. For Sagittarius women who've long defined themselves through giving, this shift asks a deeper question. Who are you when no one needs you to lead them? The answer, though tender, is luminous. You are still the seeker, the teacher, the explorer, only now the map points inward. The key lies in reimagining what freedom truly means. For years, you've associated it with movement, with travel, exploration, or spontaneity. But Jupiter's higher octave of freedom isn't about distance. It's about perspective. It's realizing that joy is not something you chase. It's something you create. You can wander galaxies without leaving your living room if your spirit is awake. You can transform solitude into sanctuary. Try beginning your days with a Sagittarian affirmation. Something simple yet powerful, such as, I am free to grow beyond my roles. My purpose expands with every breath. Repeat it during Sagittarius moons, when Jupiter's energy heightens your clarity and optimism. You'll notice how quickly the heaviness shifts, replaced by a spark, a familiar light you thought you'd lost. Retrograde periods offer another sacred tool for rediscovery. When Mercury or Jupiter retrogrades, the cosmos slows your pace, inviting deep introspection. These are ideal moments to revisit unhealed corners of motherhood. The guilt of missed moments, the regret of harsh words, the longing for what could have been. Rather than resisting these memories, welcome them as old teachers returning with gentler lessons. Write to your past self, the mother who tried so hard, and tell her she did enough. Jupiter smiles when we forgive ourselves. One Sagittarius woman I met during a workshop described how she turned her post-parenting loneliness into spiritual adventure. I started studying astrology seriously, she said, laughing softly. At first, it was just curiosity, then it became therapy. I began to see that every challenge had a transit, a timing, a divine reason. She later traveled to Greece alone, her lifelong dream. For the first time, she said, I wasn't running from emptiness. I was running toward myself. That is the heart of Jupiter's teaching. Expansion is not indulgence, it's healing. The more you grow, the more you honor the life that brought you here. Your children's independence does not erase your purpose. It magnifies it. They are exploring the world you once showed them, carrying your light into places you may never go. You, in turn, are now called to explore your own uncharted inner landscape. Your creativity, your spiritual calling, your joy. Create rituals that feed this rebirth. Dedicate one evening each week to your personal Jupiter time. It could be reading something philosophical, walking under the stars, painting, or even planning a future journey, physical or metaphorical. Let this become sacred, not an escape but an offering to your own soul. In truth, this chapter isn't about replacing your role as a mother. It's about integrating it. You are still a nurturer, but now your energy nourishes growth in new forms. Wisdom, art, friendship, self-love. Your arrow still flies, but its target has changed from others to your own horizon. So when loneliness visits, greet it as a messenger, not an enemy. It's Jupiter's reminder that expansion begins at the edges of comfort. What feels like loss is the space where miracles enter. The silence that once ached is becoming symphony again. If you dare to listen differently, close this chapter tonight with a breath under the open sky and whisper, my independence is not the absence of love, but the evolution of it. And as the stars shimmer above you, each one a memory, each one a promise, you'll feel it. Freedom not as distance but as divine connection. The kind that begins once again within you. Chapter 3: Healing the Past, Opening the Heart. Healing begins not with forgetting but with remembering differently. When the house grows still and the nights stretch long, memories start to surface. The arguments, the laughter, the times you wished you'd said more or less. Sagittarius, your mind is a traveler. It wanders across timelines easily, reliving old stories, seeking meaning in the echoes. But this chapter of your life invites you not to relive, but to release. Jupiter, your cosmic mentor, doesn't ask for perfection. He asks for understanding. Retrogrades are your sacred allies now. Especially Jupiter's own retrograde cycles, which occur roughly once a year. During these cosmic pauses, the universe slows its rhythm so you can revisit the landscapes of your past. Old emotions rise not to haunt you but to heal you. Perhaps you recall the distance that grew between you and your teenage child, or the guilt of words spoken in anger. Perhaps there's grief over moments you couldn't be there. The missed birthdays, the unspoken apologies. Under the light of retrograde reflection, these memories become teachers, not chains. Take this time to write. Let your pen become an arrow of release. You might begin with a simple phrase, I forgive myself for not knowing what I know now. This affirmation holds Jupiter's energy, wise, forgiving, and boundless. Forgiveness, after all, isn't an erasure of pain. It's the acceptance that pain once had something to teach. For many Sagittarius women, midlife feels like standing between two worlds, the past you once guided and the future you're learning to walk alone. Yet in that space there is power. You are no longer the same mother who doubted herself or the same woman who feared being alone. You are transforming, and healing follows transformation like dawn follows night. During Venus retrograde, reflect on how you've given and received love. Were you patient with yourself as much as with others? Did you nurture your spirit? Or only your family? These are not judgments but questions of awakening. Healing the heart means reopening it to yourself, letting love flow inward after decades of flowing outward. It means saying, I deserve the same tenderness I once gave freely. You might also choose to perform a ritual for release under a waning moon, the lunar phase that gently clears emotional residue. Light a candle, preferably blue or indigo for Jupiter's wisdom, and write down what you're ready to let go of. Guilt, resentment, self-criticism. Then fold the paper, hold it to your heart and say, these lessons have served me. I now return them to the universe with gratitude. Burn it safely, watching the smoke rise like a prayer of liberation. It's important, too, to recognize that your pain is shared by countless others. In the United States, reports of midlife loneliness among women are rising steadily, fueled by smaller family structures and digital disconnection. Yet across the ocean in Europe, the same ache lingers as family support systems wane. The loneliness of the modern mother has become global, but so has her capacity to heal together. Online, thousands of Sagittarius women are forming digital sanctuaries, astrology forums, healing circles, and communities where silence turns into story. These sacred spaces remind you that even in distance, one woman shared her journey in such a group. When my son left for university, I felt useless. But when I began joining weekly Sagittarius moon circles online, I saw my reflection in every woman there. Different faces, same ache. We laughed, cried, pulled tarot cards for one another. I realized that healing isn't about replacing what's lost. It's about remembering we still belong to something infinite. That's Jupiter's magic at work again. Turning isolation into expansion, turning grief into grace. As you move through these retrogrades and moonlit rituals, you'll notice a subtle shift. Your heart feels lighter. The resentment that once tangled around your memories begins to loosen. The love that once felt painful to hold begins to glow again. Gentler now, wiser. You begin to see your past not as something broken, but as something beautifully lived, flawed, human, sacred. And this is how Sagittarius heals. Not by closing chapters but by blessing them. Tonight, before you sleep, place your hand over your heart and whisper softly, I forgive myself for the stories I couldn't rewrite. I open my heart to joy again. The stars will listen and Jupiter will smile. Because in that moment, your healing becomes a constellation of its own, shining quietly above the life you are learning to love again. Chapter 4, Expanding Beyond the Family Horizon. There comes a moment, often subtle like the first warmth after winter, when the ache of loss begins to shift. The silence no longer feels empty but open. The walls that once echoed with longing now hum softly with possibility. Sagittarius, this is your rebirth. After years of living through others, you are now being called to live for yourself, not in defiance of love but as an expression of it. Jupiter, your cosmic guardian, is guiding you toward a new horizon. Not through distance but through discovery. You were born to explore. The Sagittarian spirit cannot stay still for long. Even in heartbreak, your soul seeks meaning, your heart searches for light. This phase of your life, when the children have flown and the roles have shifted, is not a void. It's a wild, uncharted landscape waiting for you to step into it. You are no longer defined by what you've given. Now you are defined by what you're becoming. The stars encourage you to see independence as adventure, not isolation. Jupiter, ever the teacher, reminds you that curiosity heals. Each new experience, no matter how small, reawakens your vitality. Begin with gentle exploration. Take a class that lights your spirit, join a local workshop, volunteer for a cause that aligns with your heart's mission. If travel calls to you, even short journeys, follow it. Movement reignites the Sagittarius flame. The journey doesn't have to be far. Even a walk through a familiar park can become a pilgrimage when your heart is open. Online communities, especially Sagittarius focus circles, are becoming global sanctuaries for women like you. Seekers, healers, mothers turned sages. These digital hearts offer not just companionship but reflection. A reminder that your story is part of something cosmic. Sharing experiences with other Sagittarian women rekindles the fire of connection, transforming solitude into solidarity. Here, you will find laughter, vulnerability, and the comforting truth that every woman is navigating her own constellation of rebirth. Studies show that connection, even virtual, significantly reduces midlife loneliness and boosts vitality. Across continents, women are reinventing themselves after their children leave, starting businesses, writing memoirs, traveling solo, or learning new spiritual practices. You, Sagittarius, are meant to join them, not as a follower but as a light. Your wisdom, your resilience, and your optimism are your offerings to the world. Create small daily rituals that mirror this new expansion. Each morning, light a candle or open your window wide to the sky. Whisper, my next chapter begins with wonder, not fear. Feel how this mantra awakens your inner archer, the seeker ready to draw her bow again. You can even mark your growth through Jupiter journals, a space to record synchronicities, gratitude, dreams, and lessons learned along this path of rediscovery. Reconnection doesn't mean returning to the past. It means expanding into your truth. The bonds with your children remain, even as you stretch into your new identity. The beauty of Sagittarius energy is that it never clings. It trusts that love can travel infinite distances. As you explore, your children learn from your courage. They see that life doesn't end at their departure. It blooms anew. Imagine this scene. You stand under a vast night sky, wind brushing your face, 1,000 stars shimmering above. You lift your arm, draw your invisible bow, and release an arrow of light into the darkness. That arrow carries your new intentions: freedom, purpose, self-love, and connection. It flies farther than you can see, yet somehow you know it always finds its mark. Because this is what it means to be Sagittarius: to trust the unseen, to believe that the heart's adventures are never wasted. Your independence is not separation. It's communion with the universe. Every step you take toward yourself sends ripples of light to everyone you love. And when you pause to rest, you'll feel Jupiter's golden warmth rising from within, reminding you that you were never truly alone. You were simply being prepared to expand beyond the horizon, to rediscover joy not as something fleeting, but as something eternal. Whisper it once more, letting the words settle deep into your spirit. My next chapter begins with wonder, not fear. And with that, dear Archer, you take your first step into the wild, starlit freedom that was always waiting. Not outside of you, but within. The cosmic return to self. The stars shimmer more softly now, as if exhaling with you. You've walked through the ache of emptiness, through nights when silence felt endless and mornings when purpose seemed to fade like mist. But here you are, Sagittarius, standing in the stillness, radiant again. The grief that once weighed on your heart has transformed into something spacious, sacred, and strangely beautiful. You've learned that endings are never really endings. They're invitations to rediscover the infinite. In astrology, Jupiter's lessons are never quick. They unfold in spirals, teaching us again and again that growth is the essence of love. When your children left, you feared your light might dim, but instead it expanded. Their independence did not steal your meaning. It mirrored it. You raised explorers, and in doing so, the universe prepared you to explore your own soul. This is the paradox of Sagittarius motherhood. The freedom you give eventually returns to you. You've turned loss into learning, silence into self-discovery, and solitude into sanctuary. You've remembered what your spirit always knew, that your life's adventure was never about clinging. It was about flowing. You are still a mother, yes, but now you are also the woman you once dreamed of being before the world demanded your constant giving. You have become the embodiment of Jupiter's highest truth, a teacher of resilience, a keeper of hope, a traveler between worlds of memory and becoming. There's a new rhythm in your days now. Morning light spills through the window, and instead of longing for what's gone, you greet it with gratitude. You have rituals, your affirmations, your moon journaling, your gentle cups of tea beneath the sky. You have community, sisters of the stars who remind you that even across oceans, connection glows. You have faith again, not in what life should look like, but in its unfolding. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine the constellations above, Jupiter gleaming with his eternal promise of expansion. Whisper softly into the night, I am free, and my love travels with those I raised. Every ending is another sunrise. Let that truth pulse through you like breath, warm and infinite. You are not the same woman who once feared being left behind. You are a new constellation, radiant, whole, and guided by your own light. The arrow of your soul has found its mark, peace. And perhaps one evening soon your child, now grown and wandering their own horizon, will look up at the same sky and feel a warmth they can't explain. That's you, Sagittarius. Your love, your wisdom, your expansion, still guiding them, even from afar. This is your cosmic return to self. Not the end of motherhood, but the beginning of your next great adventure. One written in stars, steeped in freedom, and illuminated by Jupiter's eternal grace.